good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to have you with us this afternoon and for me to introduce one of my best friends who's going to be giving us a message on the master organizer of Mayhem. Christy Clover is the mom of 5 kids. They range in age from 8 to almost 20. And Christy is just one of those magical people, it seems. She has so much enthusiasm and zest for life, and she is so practical in what she has to say with us today. And so you are going to love her love for the Lord and raising her children to love the Lord in the midst of being practical about the chaos that results in our home. So we're going to bring Christy up to the screen now. Christy, it is so great to have you with us today.
Oh, it's such a joy. It's driving me crazy. I'm like, you're so close, but you're so far.
Every time she's on the East Coast or I'm on the West Coast, we try to get together, and it's been so much fun. But Christy, you've written several books. One of your latest is MOM, Mom, Master of Mayhem, Simple Solutions to Organize Chaos and Bring More Joy into Your Home. And so that's really what you're going to talk to us about today. But the thing I want you to know is that Christy has homeschooled her 5 children. She's a real homeschool mom who has had real problems, and yet she has found real solutions that she is willing to share with us. And she's done it all with such a joy through everything. So I'm going to leave the screen and just turn it over to Christy. Christy, thank you so much for coming and sharing your life with us today.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. I am so excited to be here because homeschooling, we homeschool moms and families, we need encouragement. And so I love events like this. So I want to thank Bob Jones Press for having me and Homeworks by Precept. It's just such a joy to be here. Okay, my friends. So are you ready to dig in? We don't have a lot of time and I have a lot of things that I want to share with you, but I do first want to mention my family, my little chaos creators. So here's a picture of my family. My oldest is, I think on the left of your screen, I get all mixed up when we're on a screen here, but my left, he's going to be 20. I have a 20-year-old. I started really young. We'll pretend that. At 20 is Grant. He has graduated from our homeschool. He's getting ready to finish up his degree in English. And then Blake is next. He's 18 and he's in his senior year. And then my 3 youngest are Wade. He is junior high, 7th grade. Ashlyn's in 4th grade. Caitlin's in 2nd grade. See, it's a test. It's a test to remember all my kids and all their grade levels. But I just wanted to introduce you to the fact that it's impossible to have 5 kids and a homeschool and not have mess happen. So through the years, I've had to find different types of systems to kind of pull together to find a little bit of, sanity through the years. And kind of with that, I have a free resource for you. I wrote a little book called Sanity Savers for Moms, and you can get a free copy if you go to christyclover.com/sanity. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because a lot of the tips in here, I kind of expand on in Sanity Savers, and I go way deeper in my MOM book. All right, are you guys ready? So I feel like with a homeschool family, oftentimes we have to make that decision. Do I get homeschooling done or do I get housework done, right? You're like, dishes, math, I don't know. Like maybe we can count the dirty dishes on this, that are on the counter, and we'll divide up the work by you'll do this many and this many. So, I mean, you can pull school into everyday life, which is wonderful with homeschooling. But it is really hard. And so through the years, I've had to come up with all kinds of different just ways to tweak things. So to give you a little bit deeper understanding of kind of where I'm coming from is my husband traveled for over 20 years of our marriage, which means that pretty much all of our homeschooling was done with me managing babies and house and ministry and just, a home with a husband who was traveling. So we've had to do a lot of juggling through the years, which is really the heart of the book, is kind of sharing with you some of the things that I put together. In fact, when I was first asked to speak on home organization, I think if I had something in my mouth, like if I was drinking something, I would have spit it out because I was like, why? Who, me? Like, I want you to understand, I am not a perfectionist. I am not perfect at this. This does not come naturally to me. I have had to learn to be more organized, to establish systems in our home and routines in our home, to have more order, let's say it that way, but to have more order and structure in our life. It does not come naturally. In fact, I tend to be a little messy. I'm known for my Christy piles. So paper is a struggle for me. So you think paper struggles homeschooling, right? There's a lot of paper when it comes to homeschooling. So I have all kinds of resources for homeschool organization, but today I really want to touch on home and home organization. So the number one thing that I do think is important for people to understand is you do need to understand kind of the why. Like your house doesn't need to be perfect, but if you're married, you and your spouse need to at least have an agreement on maybe like top two things. So for Steve and I, if life is crazy, counters keep him happy. So clean counters keep him happy, and clean floors keep me happy because I have stepped on Legos maybe one too many times, and that is not very fun. So sometimes just having like an understanding of what level of mess you're comfortable with. I know that sounds crazy coming from someone who's trying to share with you about how to be more organized, but life is real, and there's just going to be times where it's going to look lived in. And having a home that looks lived in is a blessing to those who live there and those who come to visit. So do know that. But with that, like I think of my goal with my home organization and just trying to keep my house tidy and neat is really to create an environment where my family wants to be and an environment where I feel comfortable having people over. So again, you have to think through like, what does that look like for you and your family? All righty. So another big tip that I wanted to make sure I shared is just know there are seasons for things. There are going to be times in your life where things are crazy, right? That happens, especially when you're homeschooling. And that's actually the beautiful part of homeschooling is that, we've had family members pass away. We've had family members in the hospital. We've had surprise guests come. We've had vacation opportunities that we decided to take. And the beauty is that you just kind of wrap your homeschooling in around that. So kind of like that, we've had babies that come into our lives. And so those are seasons where I have to let things go a little bit and realize that I'll get to those other tasks later. So just know there are seasons for things. And if you want my like amazing, this is like my gold. Ready? Are you ready for my gold tip, my golden tip? You have to think about the story. Like this is my favorite story. So I'll back up a little bit. My golden tip is loaves and fishes. You have to trust God to multiply. So in the Bible, there's a story about how Jesus feeds the 5,000, but it all starts with these, I think it was 5 loaves and 2 little fish, or maybe I've got that mixed up right now, but it started with these loaves and these fish. And he took it, blessed it, and multiplied it. And quite frankly, that's how I approach everything that I do. I just try to put the effort in where I can and just trust the Lord to multiply it. He knows what I can and can't accomplish. And I have to really lean on him for strength to know, maybe this isn't where I need to be, spending my time. So, maybe the dishes really are what I need to focus on. And then tomorrow I'll start tackling laundry. So it just depends on kind of where you are with just your level of chaos in your home. We all have it and we all have seasons. In fact, I giggled because when I'm writing a book on home organization, our house is probably at the most chaotic step ever. I think at one point somebody in the family is like, what's that book about again? I'm like, I know, don't look around. But do know that there are seasons. When you lean into the Lord, he's going to help multiply your time. All right. So on that, I want to make sure I'm kind of touching on some of the points that I wanted to get to. So I wanted to get practical with you, and I wanted to share some tips that really help. So as I mentioned, you have to kind of know their seasons and you have to kind of pick. So often when I'm being interviewed or as people are asking me, like, what do I do? I'm like, well, where do I start? And they're like, well, my whole house is a mess. So what do I do with that? And my number one tip for people, no matter what stage you're at, is to pick one thing. And honestly, I like to remind people that if there's a pile, there's a problem. So oftentimes the one thing that you should pick to get started on is that pile that's driving you crazy. Like that just means there's a system broken there, or maybe there's not a system there because it means that maybe things don't have a home, a place to get tucked away. It could mean that you need a better paper filing system. That has been a real lifesaver for us, and sanity saver for us is to have different systems of what to do with the paper piles. that I create. And then also just picking that one thing and not allowing yourself to move to another. I actually refer to this as homemaking ADD, because I do that. So what I'll do is I'll start a project downstairs, and I've had to get better with this, but I'll start a project downstairs, and then lo and behold, I need something for my project that's upstairs. And so what do? I go on upstairs and I realize, oh, look, something shiny. There's another project I should take on. I forgot to do that. So I'll start doing that. And then all of a sudden I find myself back downstairs or something and realize, oh, whoops, that's right. That's what I was doing. So it's really easy to get distracted, which is why I encourage people to pick their one thing, focus on getting that done. And then when you're done and it's all put together and that problem is solved, then move on to the next project. Now, with that, I wanted to help, because decluttering really is, like, the buzzword, right? You think home organization, you think decluttering. And it can be really hard, especially in homeschool families when you have multiple kids oftentimes, and you're storing, curriculum here, and you've got these toys over here, and everything seems to come out at the same time. Obviously, it's easy to stay on top of fewer items. So decluttering is important. And this has been the biggest game changer for myself as well as for our kids. And so when you're decluttering, I know, like, the trendy thing is, does it spark joy? I'm not into that. What I really think of is, can it be a blessing to someone else, or is it still blessing our family? And so if we're still using it and it's useful, we love it, it's bringing me joy, then sure, you can use joy there. But if it's being used, then awesome, it's a blessing for my home. So let's find it a house. Let's find it its own little home. So that way it has a place to be stored and it's not clutter. If, however, it's gently used and could find a better home to bless someone else, then let's get rid of that. So, and then this is the other thing. If it is truly broken and truly not needed and will not bless anyone, then its home needs to be in the trash can. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of sort through. I mean, there's lots of trendy, different, piles that you can create, but I really do try to use blessing as kind of the foundation for how I'm making decisions on what's going to stay. And I will say this, when you're thinking of blessings, also think through, there are things that we keep because it holds a significance to us in some way or shape or form. I'm talking about the gold jeans or those clothes in the closet. You're like, someday they'll fit again. You know what? If they're not blessing you, sometimes that actually causes me stress. I've learned to put those items, if I really truly want to try to get into those clothes, this is just an example, then I'll put them in a bin and get them out, because when they're in my closet, they aren't blessing me. They're actually shaming me. And so little things like that, like if there are things that truly need to be saved and stored, then store it well. Otherwise, get rid of it and share it with somebody else, because it will be a blessing to someone else. So that's a big one that I wanted to make sure that we tackled. Another big thing that is helpful is that when you are, organizing or decluttering a space or whatever, you have to follow the clean and cute rule. So this is my little rule that I find is really helpful for helping a space stay clean. And the clean and cute rule is that when you are working on a space, so let's say we're working on the kitchen counter or even a closet, what you're going to do is you're going to clear off that space. You're going to clean it. So if you're working on a room, you're going to vacuum, get those, get the baseboards. You're going to really dust and clean that space. Then you're going to do whatever you need to do as far as decluttering and creating systems for the things that should go in that space and should never, ever be in that space again. And then you're going to make that space look cute. So it's amazing psychologically what happens when you create a cute space. You want to keep it looking cute. So take the time, or if you're a father or a dad, or you've got boys that you're trying to work in their space, then cool. Okay. So we'll do clean and cool, but do make sure it's clean and make it cute, or clean and make it cool. But it helps you to keep that space nice and tidy when it has a good feel. Like when that area draws you to that space, it helps so much to keep that space clean when it's cute. So there's another tip for you. The next one that is really, really helpful with kids. So again, we are homeschool families. We have got our kids in the space in our homes, and it's really, truly helpful to teach them life skills that include housekeeping, right? I think most homeschool families are very comfortable with this concept. But what I found in getting my kids to actually help out is to have the right tools in the right places. So when I say the right tools, believe it or not, fun tools make the job fun. So we have a cordless vacuum that we'll use, so that the kids actually love vacuuming. A picture I don't have here, but I do have pictures when I do this presentation at conventions, is my daughter vacuuming. She's got her little headphones on. She's listening to worship music as she's vacuuming the house. And so a cordless vac is fun. You can have socks on their hands, and little kids love this. Have them work on the baseboards or have them work on different spaces with socks on their hands. You can do, like the Swiffer dusters. My kids love those, and I will send them a dusting away. My silly little tip. So if you have kids around you right now, cover their ears because you don't want them to hear this. The number one chore, and actually number two chore that I give my kids are the ones that I don't like doing. So that's the first one I train, are the chores that, yes, help the family, but the chores that I don't enjoy doing. So I try to teach them to help out and pitch in. And then it's actually easier for me to get a lot more other things done, but I don't have a job that I don't like. It's not horrible. It's not horrible, but having those right tools is really helpful. One thing that we found, and it was funny because I was actually doing this little promo. And so I bought this tool that I thought, oh, this is a fun for folding things. I think it's called the Flipfold. You've probably seen it. It's what they'll use at like stores, and you flip the clothes and then you flip the bottom and it's like a perfectly folded shirt. Believe it or not, I invested in more than just one of those. I have two for just the kids because they love it and it makes it fun. They actually enjoy doing their laundry, and it's been about 2 or 3 years since we bought those, and they still pull it out when they're doing laundry. It's not quite as novel anymore, but they do enjoy using it. So having those tools that make the jobs a little bit more fun is important. Now, as far as having the right tools in the right place, it's also important to put those tools where you're going to use it. So I have a stock of things under every single bathroom that are always there and available. I also keep a bucket that's handy and ready for the kids to just grab and go do a project if they need to. So under like a bathroom sink, I'll have anything from Clorox wipes to clean up messy counters, or if anyone misses, then they are responsible for making sure that they've cleaned up their misses. And then we'll have, we have a plunger underneath the toilet or behind the toilet for people. Sometimes I'll have glass cleaner wipes. In my bucket, I have a kid-friendly, spray. So some sort of a cleaning product that's not toxic. So usually it's one of the more natural ones because it's something I'm going to have my kids spraying. And I don't want to have like Comet that has bleach and Windex, which has ammonia in it, because I'm like, those don't go together. And my kids may forget in the moment that we don't put those two things together. So make sure that you have the right things in the right places so they're easy to grab. Another example of that is that cordless vacuum that I mentioned. I actually have it in my pantry. So I have it next to the kitchen because we are pulling that baby out multiple times each day. And if you don't have, like I actually just had a cord plugged in, we have it really close so that I actually, at one point I ran an extension cord into the pantry so that I could have the vacuum right where I knew we needed it. And before that, I just made sure I kept my broom and a little dustpan nearby. But keeping things near where the mess happens will save you so much time, because there's nothing like being somewhere where there's a big mess and you're like, okay, so let's go down here and find that. Where did that go? And, so when you have things where you can grab them, it's very helpful. All right, let's grab a couple other little tips for you here. One thing that is very helpful is to make sure that, that you are scheduling time to get organized. So people are always like, oh, I don't have time. How am I ever going to find the time to do all these projects? Schedule time. So if you are working on a project, then, maybe it turns into something where you can put a show on for your kids, or you can even do it during your homeschool day when they are watching a video or they're doing part of their independent work. I like to split our work in between independent work and time with me work. So when they are busy, then I might pick a little project and work on that. So whether that's like cleaning the area, or maybe I really am trying to declutter space. Believe it or not, like I always feel like we've decluttered all these spaces, and then I'm like, why is there clutter again? And it happens. So sometimes I'll bring a bin in that has just kind of, that's what I call it, organized clutter. That's really what it is. Sometimes things will go into a bin and I'll just happen to throw a label on it and it makes me feel better, but it's not really organized. And oftentimes it's a bin that needs to go be gone through. And like an example of that would be family photos that we've had printed through the years, just kid paraphernalia. So I do have individual bins for each child. And what happens is sometimes I'm just like in a rush. I'm like, yep, I think that should go in the bin. But I still have to go through the bin and make sure it's truly something we want to keep. But oftentimes I'll do that at the end of the night. I'm just scheduling a little bit of time to just go through my bin and get that done. Depending upon what the project is, sometimes it can be something where it's like we are doing something else, and there can be other things going on around us, but sometimes you just need to schedule time to truly tackle a project. So if I said I need to organize my garage, I'm not going to go in the garage and start working on that as my kids are doing some independent schoolwork. That's not going to happen. That's not going to work. So what you need to do in that case is to schedule time. So I am blocking things off of my calendar, and I am making sure that everybody knows, including the teenagers, that we are going to be working on the garage this weekend. And so I have cleared the calendar. I am focused on the fact that this is what is going to get done. And when I am organizing for a big project like that, I'm also making a list of what will I need. So what are some different things that I'm going to need for this project? So like a labeler, or do I need more bins because it is a garage project? Or, do I need a basket because everything kind of tends to gather in this place? So if I'm looking at a space, I'm going to see if I can get some maybe hooks or baskets or different things like that might work better in that space. And one way that I do this is I actually, when I'm working on a specific project, I do a little, you can kind of call it, you can have people do a vision board, but I'll do a little bit of research for inspiration. So I'll kind of I'll do a Google search on organizing the powder room or organizing the laundry room. And, especially on Pinterest, there's so many ideas. You don't have to stare at a space and be lost for what to do, because I guarantee you there's thousands of people with lots of creative energy who have done it before and have figured out great ways to do it that will work wonderfully in your space. So do look for different inspiration in different places, because it's very helpful. So I hope that a lot of these tips are helpful. Let me check. I was going to say one thing that I do. I mentioned that I keep a bucket in the laundry room. I kind of call that my bucket list. And so I make sure that's always fully stocked. That is one area that I will go and check to make sure that we haven't run out of anything. And we have little rules around our house that help people to kind of to know, how to help the system stay in place. And so one of those is, if you run out of something, it does not go straight into the trash. This sounds funny. This is only for cleaning products, but it has to go on the counter or into the kitchen area. Or the best is when they're old enough to write it on a list. So comment, they'll write it on my grocery list, and then it can go in the trash. So we have in our pantry a whiteboard with Costco area, with a Trader Joe's area, and with our normal grocery store. So in California, that's Vons. So we'll have those 3 different stores listed. And that's sometimes where it gets a little confusing, because the kids don't understand that comment I'm not going to find at Costco. So I'll switch things around, but it's a dry erase board. So it's very easy to just change things around, but it's great to have that system. So if somebody uses all of the peanut butter, then peanut butter gets written on the list. And then I know that next time I'm at the store that I get my peanut butter at, then I know that is, what I need to pick up. So having that system is very helpful. Another thing, and this is so you may have this system. I have a weird little pet peeve that we have a clean side of the sink and a dirty side of the sink. And so when we have guests, my kids, I kind of laugh, because it's people just set dishes down. I'm like, oh, great, just see, I put it all over by the sink. And obviously they have no idea, but they'll put it on the clean side. And my kids will sometimes go and they'll move it, because they know I'm there's dirty dishes in my clean space. It's fine in situations like that, but it does help. It helps to know that like I don't just have dirty dishes everywhere. Like if dishes have been cleaned, usually it's platters and big things that are going on the clean area, because we're trying to get in the habit of, if you dirty it, don't just, you can put it in the dishwasher. If the dishwasher is busy, then you clean it yourself. But we don't always get to that. I'm happy if it's clean. I actually don't care if it's on the counter, if it's clean, if like the dishwasher is running and they can't use it, as long as it eventually gets put away. But just having little systems. And again, that comes down to knowing yourself and knowing what you're comfortable with. So with that, let me see what else I wanted to make sure I mentioned. One fun little bonus thing is that make a list of easy meals, because at the end of the day, when you are done with your homeschool day, and everyone, they tend to get hungry at the end of the day and they all expect food. So that's usually at the end of the day where I'm like, I don't know, what am I going to make for dinner? So what I do, I do a ton of meal planning. I love cooking for our family. So that is something that I'm blessed to say, because I know not everybody loves cooking. And if you don't love cooking, then you're going to love this tip. And that is to make a list of easy meals and stock up on those items. You know, when I say easy meals, like the list has things like tacos, grilled cheese, soup, all the things that I don't necessarily have a recipe for. So oftentimes like people will just keep recipes in one area. No, I keep this list because I just need to know what in the world to grab. Because as much as I do enjoy cooking, I don't enjoy cooking every night. And especially not when I'm exhausted, because there's some days where it's just, I've forgotten to pull out the chicken. And so it's frozen, and that's not going to do anything. So, I'll go to plan B. And so I'll find another item to make for dinner, but it helps to have this list of your go-to easy meals. So with that, I just wanted to make sure, I think I've got a slide here that is going to share with you a few of my resources. So if you didn't already write this down or go ahead and sign up, go to christyclover.com/sanity. You get a free copy. And key here is that you're going to get a meal planner in that. I have a traditions planner. I have a routine planner in there. So you get a lot of extra bonuses by signing up here. The other thing is homeschool specific is that I have a tip sheet. It's a school at home routine. So back when the whole world was homeschooling and joined us in the crazy thing called homeschooling, I created this to kind of help people figure out a good routine. I try not to be like strict schedule girl like I started off when we first started homeschooling. I have more routines, things I'm going to get done before school time and things that get done later. And a few other things is I created a special coupon code. So those of you who are familiar with some of the options or some of the different things that I do is I do love, obviously, speaking to homeschool families and helping people in their homes. So I have a few different courses. So Clover 15 will get you 15% off of all of my courses, as well as some home different courses for that. So I have a home organization. The home actually, because I love acronyms, if you haven't noticed, MOM, Master Organizer of Mayhem, as well as HOME, Home Organization Made Easy. But I just released a Make Ahead meal planner. It's a little mini course. It's super easy to go through, and I have meal planners attached to that, and all kinds of great tips to help you just to streamline your day, because that's really the biggest part about trying to get rid of some of the mayhem going on in your home and in your homeschool, is to just try to streamline things and to get different systems in place so you can have a little bit more joy in all that you do.